Roadhouse, the 1989 action film starring Patrick Swayze, is a certified cult classic. It's one of my favorite action films of all time and absolutely holds a place in my collection. It's also the subject for a crazy fan theory that I came up with years ago. Before I get to my theory, let me quickly summarize the film's plot. Patrick Swayze plays Dalton, a professional bouncer, referred to in this film as a cooler, with a reputation for cleaning up rowdy bars. Dalton is hired to work at the Double Deuce, a notorious bar in a small town. He quickly realizes that the bar is a hotbed of violence, corruption, and criminal activity. But Dalton takes on the challenge of turning the Double Deuce into a safe and profitable establishment. He clashes with a local business tycoon, Brad Wesley, who controls the town and wants to maintain his grip on the bar's illegal activities. Overwhelmed with the level of corruption and organized crime Dalton faces, he seeks the aid of longtime mentor and friend Wade Garrett. Garrett is played by actor Sam Elliott, who works with Dalton to stand up to the villainous Brad Wesley and his henchmen. This all culminates in a series of violent confrontations, barroom brawls, and a final showdown to restore order to the town. Roadhouse is not high art. It's a simple, dumb, fun movie mostly enjoyed by male viewers like myself. With high levels of ass-kicking, a rocking good soundtrack, and plenty of eye candy, Roadhouse is one of the ultimate guy movies. And when I say I love this film, I mean that genuinely and not ironically. On top of it being an amazing action film, I really think there's some deeper artistic merit here. This film often gets written off completely by film snobs due to its crass and violent content, but if you've never actually watched it, please stop watching this video now and give the movie a chance. And now on to my theory. I've never heard a single other person mention or come up with this idea before, but then again, I've also never heard the words Roadhouse and film theory in the same sentence. And that's probably because few people think about this film as much as I do. So here's my crazy fan theory. Is Wade Garrett Dalton's father? One of the things that I always noticed over my several rewatches of Roadhouse is the strong bond between Sam Elliott and Patrick Swayze's characters. Their bond and chemistry is so strong here that it feels to me like it's a paternal connection and not just a friendship. Elliott's Wade Garrett is supposed to be Dalton's longtime mentor in the art of being a bouncer, but we're not really given much actual backstory between these two men in the film. Dalton mentions Wade's name earlier in the runtime, claiming him to be the best in the business. Without even seeing Wade yet, we're already being told that Dalton has the utmost respect for him and thinks of him as more skilled than himself. Dalton, being played by a young, muscular Patrick Swayze, makes it hard to imagine someone even more capable than he is. So when Wade is revealed to be a much older grade man, it subverts our expectations. What's interesting here is while Garrett is without a doubt very capable, he is clearly not at the level of Dalton. When Tillman approaches Dalton at the beginning of the film, he even points this out.
Wade Garrett's the best.
Wade Garrett's getting old.
He's still the best.
So if people in the business already know that Garrett is nowhere near his former prime, why does Dalton hold him in such high regard? You could say it's nothing more than a pupil showing respect for their teacher, but to me it comes across as a son bragging about their father. Doesn't everyone at one time or another think their dad can kick anyone's ass? It would be great if Roadhouse just out and out told us exactly how Dalton and Wade met, or how their relationship came to be. It's clear they have some long history together, but all we're ever given is pieces of random anecdotes. But let's get back to Wade's introduction again. I've already said that Wade is much older than you would expect based on Dalton's words. The first time we actually see Wade in the film is when Dalton calls for him for guidance with the Double Deuce. This scene plays out like a child calling their parents for advice. Concerned over Dalton's welfare, Wade then takes it upon himself to travel to the Double Deuce to keep an eye on him. Wade immediately comes to the rescue of Dalton, and one of Wesley's henchmen says this.
Mind your own business, Dad.
What an interesting word choice. What Terry Funk's character is trying to say to Wade is, get lost, old man. So then why doesn't he say something like, beat it, old man, or even, get lost, grandpa? I don't think I've ever heard anyone use the word dad as a negative slang to insult someone's age. It feels like a deliberate use by the filmmakers trying to tell us something. And just like a parent protecting their child, Wade saves Dalton from the goons attacking him. Even though neither Dalton nor Wade's ages are revealed in the film, it's clear Sam Elliott's character is meant to be much older than Swayze's. Perhaps even old enough to be his
dad.
In reality, despite looking decades apart, there is only an 8-year age difference between Sam Elliott and Patrick Swayze. But again, the film never explicitly states either man's age. All we know is Wade is much older than Dalton and on the brink of retirement, while Dalton still remains in his prime. Almost immediately following the loading dock fight scene, Dalton takes Wade to meet his new girlfriend. Dalton and Wade could have just as easily went out drinking alone, but Dalton specifically invites his girlfriend as if he badly wants Wade and her to meet. It seems like Dalton is looking for Wade's approval, almost like a child introducing their partner to their family for the first time. Not long after this scene, once again, we're in the bar where Dalton and Wade stand beside each other. It's here where I first noticed how similar the two men look. Dalton and Wade have similar builds, hairstyles, and even mannerisms. Standing there looking out across the bar, the two very much appear like father and son. Even the way Wade acts towards Dalton feels different from how two old friends would be. Wade talks about Dalton like a parent playfully teasing their child, and even refers to Dalton as kid.
Hey, cool, kid. You got your hands full, kid. Kid here got his head cracked. You got a skinny little runt named Dalton working here.
Going back to their initial phone call again, Wade uses a very interesting choice of word to refer to Dalton.
What's going on, mijo?
The word mijo is a Spanish word used to describe a close friend, translating as simply buddy. However, there's a secondary meaning that I find worth noting. When used by family members, the word mijo translates to my son. Sure, in this scene, it certainly comes across like Wade is just saying buddy. I mean, even Patrick Swayze says the word buddy back.
What's going on, mijo? Hey, how you doing, buddy?
But how about this scene?
I love you, mijo. I see it.
That definitely doesn't feel like a friend saying buddy. It comes across more like a tender moment of a parent speaking to their child. Interestingly, the word mijo isn't present in the original script, meaning it was added deliberately by either the cast or the filmmakers. Perhaps Sam Elliott or Patrick Swayze wanted to add in this dynamic. Or maybe the filmmakers realized the pair came across more like a father and son than old drinking buddies. In fact, for almost the entirety of Wade's screen time, he spends it parenting Dalton. He initially plays the role of concerned supporter when Dalton first reaches out to him. He then acts as a protector by rescuing Dalton from his attackers. And for the remainder of the film, Wade's every action is either trying to offer guidance or help to Dalton, even by putting himself in great danger and physical harm to do so. They say a parent would do anything to protect their child, and Wade certainly seems to confirm this. I mean, who would say something like this to their friend?
I ought to stop telling you what to do. Maybe I ought to kick your ass.
It sounds more like a parent reprimanding their child. Okay, so that's pretty much all the evidence I have to support my theory. The two men look like father and son, act like father and son, and there's lots of dialogue that supports this. But of course, the film never actually explicitly states their direct relationship. At no point does Dalton say something like, "Hey, this is Wade Garrett, he's my father." And even their last names don't match. Initially, I was going to use their names as evidence to support my idea. I've watched Roadhouse tons of times, and never once did I hear Dalton's last name revealed. When asked, he only states his name is Dalton.
You got a name?
Yeah?
Well, what is it?
Dalton.
Which is the same thing every other character in the movie also says.
The name is Dalton.
Even the end credits only list him as Dalton, while Wade Garrett's full name is displayed. This could have really helped my case, as Dalton's real last name could have just as easily been Garrett, from his father Wade, making his name Dalton Garrett. Of course, now we live in the age of high definition, and gorgeous Blu-ray and 4K transfers are a thing. And what was previously not as clear or legible is suddenly brought to life with incredible detail. Details like Dalton's full name being revealed on his medical chart. When we freeze frame, we clearly see Dalton isn't even his first name, it's his last. The character's full name is actually James Dalton. Apparently this detail is revealed in the straight-to-video sequel Roadhouse 2, but I refuse to watch this pile of garbage to confirm this. So Wade Garrett and James Dalton obviously have different last names. Of course, James might have simply changed his name at some point, or maybe Wade took a woman's last name from a previous marriage. Although I don't think that's very likely. Or maybe I can offer some other possibilities. We're never really given a ton of backstory between these two men. The scene that perhaps provides the most information is when Dalton introduces Wade to his new love interest. Wade regales the doc with funny anecdotes from the two men's past, but these stories are about little more than past brawls and current scars. While it doesn't tell us any specific information like how the two men met or their actual relationship, it does establish that they've known each other for a very long time. I always found this particular moment interesting.
No, I'll show you scarf. I'll show you one I'm real sentimental about, Doc.
A woman?
Boy, was she. God, I feel like dancing. You like to dance, Doc?
Wade shows the doc a scar from a woman from his past, but then immediately changes the subject without going into any detail, almost like it's a touchy subject. The scenario that I like to imagine is the woman that gave Wade that scar was in fact Dalton's real mother. Perhaps Wade was seeing her and became close with her son Dalton, acting as a kind of surrogate father. Maybe this imaginary woman was very unstable and abusive towards her son. Dalton certainly gives off a vibe of someone with a rough background. Perhaps after years of abuse, Dalton finally decides to leave home. Maybe there was an inciting incident that pushed Dalton too far, the very same incident that gave Wade his massive scar. One that pushed Wade to leave Dalton's mother and take his surrogate son with him. Or maybe that's all just nonsense. A simpler explanation could just be that Wade met a young Dalton and, not having any real children himself, felt a kinship toward him. Wade began to see Dalton as more of a son to him and tried to guide him into adulthood. I could literally keep going here, coming up with scenario after scenario of these two men's backstory. And the reason it's so easy for me to do that is because of just how good the on-screen chemistry between these characters is. The relationship feels so much more like a paternal bond than a simple friendship. And there you have it. There is my crazy fan theory for Roadhouse. You have to have way too much time on your hands and a deep love for this trashy film to come up with something like this, which I obviously do. With the upcoming remake starring Jake Gyllenhaal on the horizon, now seemed like the perfect time for me to finally make this video. And if you're wondering whether I'm excited for the Roadhouse remake or not, I will say that I don't really care about it. Remakes should only exist if there is significant room for improvement in the original. Roadhouse, while not high art, achieves exactly what it sets out to be. It's a hard-hitting movie about barroom brawls, tough guys, and hot babes that delivers all of the above. And there is just the right amount of nuance and art in this film to elevate it above so many of its action movie peers. So if you really want to do anything with the Roadhouse brand, how about I offer an alternative to a direct remake? How about a prequel about Dalton and Wade? Yes, prequels suck 99% of the time, but there is actual room here for a great story. Tell us exactly how these two met, their direct relationship, and show us some of those wild and crazy stories Wade was talking about. It would be fun to see a less mature, inexperienced Dalton learn the ropes from his mentor, Wade Garrett. Inject the right dose of art and testosterone without directly mimicking scenes from the original, and you've got the making of something really special. But what do I know? I'm just a diehard fan of the original. I'm sure the studios know much better than I do.